Hey babies. Hey babies. Hey babies. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Have you met my friend Kyle Kuzma? Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I've been waiting a week to talk about this.
You saved that one. I didn't think you were going there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna talk about him later because I like to start the show with the football team these days, but because I've been in football brain but I see these things pop up and Wizards Twitter, which at times can have a mild pulse, but most of the time is just like kind of flatlining along the way. Gosh, just they woke up for Kuz's thoughts on the political world the last few days. So I did see it. I saw it, and you know how much I love him. So that was a tough one to see happen. Tough.
I had to send that one to you because I knew you were going to be football brained, and I was like, let me just make sure this is in his inbox somewhere to file away for later. So yeah, that's
I'm coming out of it. I'm coming out of it. Like this week's been really good. This is a marked calendar week that I really enjoy that I forget about until it's here. It's like reboot week. The training camp's over, the preseason's over, but there's no game this weekend. So it kind of gives everybody a chance to kind of catch their breath. So and I was like, oh yeah, I love Kuz. And then he said some things on Twitter, and I was like, I was like, ugh.
But he's just saying. He's just saying.
He's just saying.
It's always my favorite one. Like, I'm just saying.
Yeah. I'm not against. Say whatever you want. I'm not like like some people are like, oh, there goes Steve Kerr at the DNC. But if Brittany Mahomes likes a Trump tweet, you better, like, what's wrong with you? And I agree with that, actually. Like, you can say whatever you want, but I can also then say, like, I can do that if I really want
to. You can cringe if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Maracuzo over there. I don't know. I don't
know. No.
Yeah. Whatever. He can say that. I can say that. It's cool. Whatever.
Got to go with my thing. Kyle Kuzma with a Q. Quzma.
I don't think it was that bad. It wasn't like it didn't reach the point of like, is there a secret underground army that is like consisting of specific religious groups that are trying to take over the world? Like, it didn't do anything like that. It wasn't that far. It was just kind of like, I think he has a point, which is like, all right, fine. I guess I don't, but fine. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just telling you this. Where are the levels of floors if you're going after Junior, if you're starting to agree with Junior, and then QAnon? I'm just saying, like, there's a slippery slope. Like, Mr. Brainworm over there.
If he did change his jersey and put Kuzma with a Q, that would be amazing. Anyway, I still love him. That's where we are in 2024. Actually, it's fine. Like, I've gotten over the, oh my God, really? Like, you too? But now I'm like, all right, fine. It's like, Thanksgiving. A couple family members come over. You never really got along that much all your whole life, but you get along at the dinner table. You got stories to share.
Sure.
I like his outfits before the games. I like he was loyal to us. I like all that stuff.
We all like the NFL.
About this.
We all like about this. Yeah, we all like sports. We all like the teams. Let's just let's not go past that.
I like basketball. You like basketball. Just leave it at that.
Everyone likes basketball.
Leave it at that, And then I think, we're going to find out. It's Endgame again. I thought it'd be Marvel Endgame with Biden versus Trump, but we got Endgame coming here. And, if Kamala wins, then I think it will evaporate that political movement. I think, because like, how many times can they lose big before they just have to go, all right, let's pick something else? Or if he wins, well, it's World War X, I guess. I don't know. Find out. We'll all live through it.
A lot of questions.
Pandemic together. It's cool. We'll be fine. We'll get over it.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Fine. We're still here. We're still laughing about it. Nobody arrested me for saying that. We're good, man. Like, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But don't don't go down that road. Like, you're like the people who are like, there's going to be a civil war. Where?
No.
What are you talking about?
Absolutely not. No.
I just went to Tate this morning. Civil war? What are you talking about? I got a great almond croissant, man. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Would you pay $17 for that? That place ain't cheap. Yeah,
pretty much.
It's a great
big
place.
Fan over here, though. Yeah. Big fan.
Could walk over there. Yes, it's a good place.
All right, let's get to the sports news. So I saw this morning that Cleveland for some reason, converted a lot of Deshaun Watson's guaranteed contract into signing bonus, which then opens up a ton of cap space for them right now. So are we doing this? Is that like they're trying to pitch it like they're making flexibility and they're working towards next year? And I'm going, I think Brandon Ayuk's going somewhere in the next few days. And I don't think it's here because I don't think the Commanders want to give up whatever it is they have to give up to get him. But I do think Cleveland looks at their division with this quarterback who's healthy again. They were in the playoffs a year ago, the top 5 defense, and are thinking all in. So I'm not buying completely we're just doing this for flexibility one day before it's clear that John Lynch wants to end the saga out there with Ayuk. So I got them in pole position of trying to get in line with, I think, Pittsburgh and probably New England, but Pittsburgh and them to try to get them in the next couple of days. That's what I think's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting with them, they were one of the teams circled in that initial report that came out of the Bay because they could give them Cooper back. Like the whole thing with the Niners and the holdup has been, we don't want to hurt our Super Bowl chances. We have Purdy on this last year of a rookie deal. We have a stacked team. We can move on from Ayuk, but we need something back to replace him. This is, I mean, yes, this is not only pole position. Like I think they're in the driver's seat here. It's going to be what that contract looks like. That is one thing we don't know is, what does Ayuk want? Does he now want to get paid more than CD? Like, I don't think he should, but he might think he should. And that's the other part of this that I think is going to hold it up. But I think Cleveland, bar none, if it's not Ayuk, they're going to use it at the deadline then. Like, they must be clearing the decks to at least say, hey, if we don't get Ayuk, we can make a move at the deadline because more and more teams are making those moves too.
Did you see John Lynch yesterday? Like, when asked about it, like he had finally reached the enough. Just enough. And he I think his line was, and he just said it like so exasperated, like at some point you just got to play. And I'm with him on that. I really thought that and maybe they offered this, but I really thought that the answer was like what the Giants did with Saquon last year. Like just bump his pay up a little bit this year. You can do it. Just bump it up a little bit as a show of goodwill that we do want to do something down the road with you. We can't do what you want to do right now. Like, why don't we bump you up because we don't have to, like, we don't have to do this. But I think if they bumped him from 14 to 20 or something like that, because I think that would have been a benchmark number. He still would have been quote unquote underpaid, I guess, but it would have been a sign of goodwill that we do value you. We're not forced to do this. We're doing it on our own accord to try to make you happy for this year. And oh, by the way, when this year's over, you have all the leverage. We're either going to franchise you and you're going to have a top 5 contract guaranteed to you, or we will trade you where you want to go, or you'll sign with us if we can come to terms on a deal. But I'm with the Niners here a little bit where it's just like, this has been going on too long. And when it comes to like him with the Commanders, like I know obviously he wants to play here. I mean, that's been beyond obvious because of Jaden Daniels. Like obviously he wants to play here. Adam Peters, this would be again really out of character for what they've done in year one. Them, and I'll get into this in a minute, them emphasizing a couple times yesterday that they're trying to win now, whatever exactly that means, like to them, I thought was a little, that like perked my ears up a little bit, you know, maybe not. I'm starting to get to know that Adam Peters, by the way, is one of the most competitive people I've ever met in my life. So I'm like starting to realize that like, he doesn't want to ever hear it from anybody going like, oh, it's year one, we might stink. Like there's none of that. Like, oh yeah, we're in it for the long haul. He's kind of, yeah, we're in it for the long haul, but I really hate losing more than anybody. So I'm getting that sense from him that's kind of and I think Quinn's a little bit that way too. Quinn seems to be a little more realistic about like, hey, it's year one, we're trying to build something, but we don't want that as an excuse, I think is like the way he's kind of putting it. And Peters is kind of like, no, losing eats at me in ways that like will, destroy me. So therefore I can't lose. Like he's got that kind of like, that's the kind of vibe I get out of him. So I want to talk about that in a second. I still don't think it's here because it would be out of character for what they've done so far. They just haven't committed money like that to anybody. And I know that they don't want to send Terry McLaurin. and they don't want to give him their first round pick. And the Niners have been reluctant to do anything that's a giveaway for him. And if it was just about the money, I think he would have been dealt to New England by now. Like, I think it was just that. But Ayuk clearly wants his cake and eat it too. Like, he wants all of it. He wants to go. He's trying to pull an NBA move. He wants to go where he wants to go to at the price he wants. And he's finding it very, very, very hard to make that happen. Unless the 49ers are willing to go, fine, give us a conditional 5th round pick that turns into a 3rd or something like that when he reaches certain benchmarks, which they're not going to do. So I still don't expect it to happen here, although I'm gonna be honest with you, like, they're so tight-lipped over there, I can't say that with any certainty. But what I saw what happened this morning with Cleveland, it did feel like we're doing this for flexibility to go get him, because the Niners are finally like, we're done and we're getting this over with.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other part of this, at least with the Commanders too, is I loved Adam Peters' line yesterday of, you can't exactly make your team better in August. Like, that was maybe my favorite line of, like, because I think it was Sam Fortier that asked about, I think it was because he mentioned, like, oh, the fans are looking for like a home run swing or something. I think that was Peters' like,
I actually thought that was a good question. I didn't mind that question at all, because that is true. Like, I think everyone is still in this place of, we like what they're doing. We like what they're building. We see what they're building. We like the energy, all that stuff. But at the same time, they're going, we know you got a lot of cap space. Like you could do something like that and really give us, the feeling that, like, we are jumping in both feet, like into the deep end of the pool. And so I actually didn't think the question was unfair. I thought the question was very fair to ask that of them. Like, you haven't done anything like that yet. Why?
Yeah. So, but like, getting to that point though, that to me is the one that shut it down too, where he's going, guys, you don't improve your team greatly in August and September. 100%. You do it in March and April when the draft and free agency roll around. And I was like, thank you for just putting it out there and calming everyone down of, like, you don't improve your team at this time of the year. You kind of just have what you have.
You have what you have. Like, so they kind of now famously did not pick anybody up off the waiver wire. I'll get to Noah Brown in a second, because he was technically, he's a free agent signing. Like, he wasn't picked up off waivers. So whatever, that's just technicality. So they did pick up somebody, but technicality. Anyway, they didn't do it. Carolina picked up a bunch of them. New England picked up 4 of them. And people are going, whoa, you had the second choice on the waiver order. Why didn't you use that? And his answer basically was, we didn't see anybody out there that we thought was considerably better than what we already had. And I think his line was, we're not here just trying to amass talent. We're trying to build a team. And I know that's music to Quinn's ears, that they're on the same page about this idea of, it's us in this building against everybody else. And we're not out there just trying to find anybody. And I think it is also a touch of an acknowledgement of, we aren't in the let's go over the top mode. It is year one. So all that's happening at the same time. And I agree with it in this way, in 2 ways this year this has happened. Like, so for anyone who freaked out yesterday and was like, they didn't pick up anybody on the waiver wire, name the person they should have. I'll wait. Which name did you see that got released from another team that you went, I can't believe they didn't pick that person up because they could have? I'll wait. So, and they surmised that as well and just said, like, we're not just going to pick up guys to pick up guys. We're going to pick up guys if we think it improves us in some way. It's the second time they've done that this year. During free agency, everybody knew they needed a tackle. Like, they may still need a tackle. Like that's very possible that that's a vulnerability on them. We'll find out, if Brandon Coleman can play. What a win that's going to be if he can show up and be a day one starter as a 3rd round pick. But I still think they need one, or still believe they probably need one. I think everybody knew back then they needed one. They weren't secret about if they could get back into the 1st round, they probably would have drafted one had it fallen a little bit differently than it did, and it wasn't a run on them like it was. But when free agency opened, I remember looking at the group that was out there and went, you could go spend a lot of money on a mid-tier tackle and probably overpay them and probably try to solve a problem here. But I remember thinking, I wouldn't do that with this group of people. As it happens this year, they didn't have what I would call high caliber availability. So are you going to overspend to try to fix a problem? And they answered that test by going, no, we're not going to do that. The only player that was up in free agency that I thought like, okay, if he's really available, maybe was Mike Onwenu from the New England Patriots, but he re-signed with them. So it's the second time now that they've gone, we've looked at what's out there. We just don't think it improves us, and we're not going to overspend for it. And so they are very disciplined, I think is the word for it. So far in year one, I think they're very disciplined.
I think one of the factors here that people kind of forget about too is go look at the 49ers cap space. And I think Adam Peters is doing exactly what San Francisco is doing. The 49ers have a ton of cap space this year, like a lot. Go on Sport Track and go look it up. It's a lot, but it's because it's part of their strategy. They use that rollover strategy. You get a certain percentage of the money back that you don't spend year to year. And you can tell they are literally making that a part of their strategy moving into next year with having to sign Purdy and Trent and whoever else they need to sign. Maybe it's Ayuk, whatever. I think they're looking at this going, why would we overspend for a tackle that
100%.
Might be marginally better
100%.
Marginally better than, whoever they've got there, when we can roll that cap over next year? And that's going to help us even more than this tackle would help us. I think, to me, and like, this is just me guesstimating, because I look at the 49ers cap space and I go, that's a crazy amount of cap space for the talent that they have. I think Adam Peters is implementing that here, where he's going, I'm not going to overspend, because overspending now just hinders what I could do next year if I were to just save that money anyways. There's actually, I think, a little bit more strategy here, where he's going, I'm not going to make a swing just to make a swing. If it's a fit, it's a fit. And there's one other thing too that Quinn said yesterday that I loved. It was off of that, hey, we're trying to build a team here statement. Quinn said, we're trying to develop too. And I was like, oh my God, finally. Like, we're not just getting a player in here, and if they suck, we're going to bench them. Like, there was that factor too, where I think people need to realize it as well, is Quinn wants to coach. He wants to actually mold some of these players. So I think this is another factor here. What's the last player that was kind of molded and coached up here that ended up being really good? You can't really remember them. Like, it's all free agents or first round picks. So I think that's another factor here that people got to remember.
Yeah, I think like, and here's the thing, like, you have to back up what you preach. And when you go, we're going to build this, and we're going to get to know you, and hard S with good people, and we're going to do, these are the, it's all just talk and cliches until you actually prove it. And the players know the difference. And if they got your back and they're putting an environment together where you feel semi-safe, and on cutdown day, everybody can't feel safe, but you feel like you've been communicated with. And the people that when they tell you, we like what you're doing, we're going to stick with you, we're going to develop you, even if you're someone who everyone on the outside is talking about, like, I don't know what they're going to do with that guy, then it's proof of concept for them too. And they start to trust the process a little bit. And I think two examples of that this year are two former first-round picks. Jamin Davis is trying to become an edge rusher. He's been a willing participant in it. He wants to do it. He clearly wants someone to coach him up. He wants to get better. He thinks it's possible this could be something for him. As the preseason progressed, he played a lot because he needed the reps. Some people read that against New England as, he's in trouble. I never thought he was, after what they were telling me about him, that they want to try to find out this year, because they have to make a decision about him with a contract next year. Can he do this? But they're sticking with him. They're basically saying, if you put in the effort and the time to us, we'll give it back to you. And it's happening with Emmanuel Forbes too. By week 2 of the preseason, I think there were a lot of people going, I don't know. Like, I think I described it as I'm concerned, was the way I would put it. But what I've seen develop over the last few weeks with that is that coaching staff has his back. His teammates are supportive of him. He's openly said, I know that every time I mess up, everybody's coming at me. And I've kind of landed on, if they can figure out, because they've done this with so many corners, if they can figure out a way to make him a 6-7 interception person, but he does still give up a lot of plays, would you be okay with that as a trade-off? Like, if he makes 6 or 7 huge plays in games, but he does get beat sometimes, because I think that's kind of baked in, with his size and some of the others, and his age and all that stuff, and and the development part of the whole thing. Would you be okay with that? Because I think that's what they see in him, but they need to support him. They need to rebuild his confidence. They need to get him to not listen to what everybody's saying on the outside. And that seems to be permeating through. So when they say we're trying to build a team, we're not trying to acquire talent, I believe them. Like I see the examples of it. Now, does that mean it's going to work wins and losses? We'll find out. It's year one. But when they've talked about this culture fix, all these cliche type things they say, they live what they preach so far. Like I've seen it. And so that's what makes me very excited about what we're building here. But again, like young quarterback, a lot of young players, clear vulnerabilities on the roster. There's no way to sit here and go, they're going to take off and they're going to surprise everybody. I think it's baked in that there's going to be ups and downs, but I do like what I see. And what they said, that press conference yesterday, I thought was the best one they've done together, because I thought they explained their reasoning for things. And I loved we're not just trying to find some guy to marginally upgrade a position who hasn't been here when this guy's been busting his butt for us the whole time. If someone's better, someone's better. They brought in Noah Brown. That is an upgrade from the bottom of their receiving core. Everything else that they've done, they looked at it and they went, I don't see anybody. And I'll just go back to like, okay, if you're freaking out they didn't use a waiver claim, I'll wait when you tell me which player popped up that you thought that they actually should have picked up, because I didn't see a name that popped up either that I was like, oh, they got to go get him.
No, I didn't see one either. In fact, we were dead wrong yesterday because I said, "Oh, they're not going to get Noah Brown. They have that guy already." And what do? They go and sign him. So like, we have no idea what they're actually, what the strategy is here, or what they were willing to give up to get some of these guys. Like, clearly they were not willing to put in a waiver claim for him, but they were fine with actually signing him to a deal. And to your point too, of that being their best presser, it absolutely was, because it's really funny. Like we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Even the media room is starting to chase their own tails because it's been all football for a month. Like, it's 0 days without an accident,
football, and they're not telling you what they're doing. Like
yes.
They're not leaking things.
Right. And so I think, yes,
I'll be the first to tell you, because like I often know more than most because I have access points, but like I know less than I ever did about what they're thinking and what they're doing. And I don't mind it, honestly. Like, I think it's better off. Like, it's not the Pentagon, but like, they also don't need to constantly share what they're doing all the time.
Yeah.
Like that's so, and so like, for me, because I'm not really a journalist in all of this, that doesn't bother, because I'm not in the business of trying to break news. The people who are freaking out because they're not getting the information they feel like they need, or they were accustomed to getting, honestly.
Yeah. And so I think yesterday was just an address of all of that, of here's what we were thinking the whole way and this is why we're not signing guys. Like the reasoning of signing or not signing guys seems to be just as important with these guys too. And so I thought yesterday was just also a giant clarification of this is how we're going to do things. Get used to it,
Get used to it. Yeah. They did as predicted, because when they kept John Ridgway and Fedarian Mathis, I looked at that and I went, there's just no way that they're keeping both of them. And they had an asset in Ridgway. I had known that there was interest in him for a couple of weeks now, Ridgway. And I do feel like it's a little bit of a schematic fit for them. In the past, Dan Quinn has really leaned towards the pass rush ability and the penetrative ability of defensive tackles, which is why I think they're going to end up loving Johnny Newton and why they adore Payne and Allen. Payne and Allen are beyond perfect fits for what they're looking for at an extraordinarily high level. Payne and Allen, I've got to remember the exact stats, but they're like 1-2 in the NFL for defensive tackles in quarterback hits and tackles for losses. And I can't remember which one's which, but one of them has one of those categories and one has the other. It's like the prototypical exact fit of what they're looking for. And Ridgway just isn't that. He's more of a space eater, run stopper, and he's made a lot of nice plays, and they traded him because he's valuable. But so I think there was a little redundancy with him and Mathis. So I understood why they did what they did yesterday there.
Yeah. And I mean, look, you get a pick swap for a guy that you got off of like long term here. They claimed him off waivers, a couple of years ago, right? Am I right in that, right? Did they get him off waivers like during training camp a couple of years back? So
they did. He was drafted in Dallas.
That's right.
And he got waived, and the Rivera group picked him up. But think about that for a second. Quinn was in Dallas when he was drafted, and they waived. He was drafted and waived.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean,
wasn't a fit for Quinn exactly then either.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, I mean, but still, you get a pick swap for a guy that you got for free anyways. Long term, that's pretty good. It's not bad.
Yeah, it is. All right, last thing on them. I loved seeing this. 0 for Mike Sanderstill.
Yes.
That is going to be a very popular jersey. So I'm glad, like, thank you, Marcus Mariota, for doing that. I know it seems very like modern, like it's so crazy. That was a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who gave up his number to a rookie second round pick, almost recognizing, yeah, I also think this belongs on that guy. So
Yeah.
it was like, when I saw that, I'm like, yes, we are going to see a lot of 5s in the stadium and a lot of 0s, I think, in the stadium.
I think I told you this when the numbers came out. Like, there's no way Mariota can keep 0. Like, I'm sorry. Definitive backup. And with Sanders still like making 0 his number, I called this from the get-go. I'm glad Mariota did it. And I'm with you. There's going to be a lot of 0s. Like, Jaden's going to be the number 1 selling jersey this year. But I think that guy, there's going to be a lot of 0s in the stands. I have a friend who's a Michigan fan. Yeah. He was going to buy a 0 regardless. Like, he was, even if he had worn his other number, he was just going to get a 0 because he said it fit so much better.
Right now, you'll see a lot of 17s, a lot of 93s, right?
Sure.
You're invariably going to see a lot of 5s, right? Because
yes.
the quarterback.
And old Tressway jerseys too, by the way.
Old Tressway jerseys.
Yeah.
I bet 0 Sanders still goes up the ranking board fast. Like straw poll of when you walk around the stadium, he's going to be maybe right behind Terry within a year, I bet. Maybe even surpass him because people like wearing 0. He's about 3 interceptions at a good press conference away from that taken off, I think.
Take the under. He needs 1 good game against the NFC East. That's it. That, like, I think people, I think you forget this fan base is holding on to anything. If he has if he has a pick 6 against your boy Dimes week 2, you're going to see a bunch of 0s the next home game. Guaranteed.
We have a very robust Michigan alum base around here too.
Yes.
So I think the tent's going to get wider by drafting this guy. All the Michigan alums are going blue on Saturday and burgundy on Sunday. I think that we're heading in that direction too. All right, let me take a quick break. Very much the show. ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Welcome back. Brad Watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Speaking of numbers, we talked about Mike Sanders still getting 0 and Marcus Mariota giving that up. He's now 18 because also understating that B-Rob's not giving up 8, which was the number that he used to be for years and years and years. Up in New York, Malik Neighbors got number 1. And this is a big deal because that number was retired by the Giants. Did you know that?
No.
They unretired a number for him. And in fact, it is the first ever retired number in NFL history. Ray Flaherty is the name of the player. So this goes back, this is like the Commanders. The Giants are 8 million years old. So This is a player from yesteryear, like my picture of Sammy Baugh back there. He's probably playing around that time. But they retired his number. So here's one of the founding member organizations unretiring a number of a legend for a wide receiver draft pick. Listen, I'm happy for Malik Neighbors. He got what he wanted. I guess the Ray Flaherty has passed. And so the family had to agree to do this, and they did. So they agreed to do this. I don't know. We're unretiring numbers, are we? Huh? That's interesting. I've never heard of that one before.
So no. We've had one instance where maybe it's not retired, but it was the blessing. And I was wondering when we're going to get to this point, because as history rolls on, people don't realize how important some people are. Players come in. Honestly, you're looking at situations too where too many numbers are being retired. And don't you know what goes on in Dallas too? Like Michael Irvin gave 88 to Dez. Dez wore 88.
That one's a little different though. That one's kind of a thing down there. Like it's like 10 on the soccer field now, or if you wear 10 in Brazil, like it's like given to you and you are expected to be great if you wear that number. Like 88 for them is kind of the same thing with the receivers because Drew Pearson wore it, Michael Irvin wore it, Des Bryant wore it, CeeDee Lamb wears it. It's like a thing down there. So I think that's a little different than this. Like we didn't ask the family. We didn't ask Sonny Jurgensen, can Jaden wear 9? Like we didn't do that.
Yeah, but what I would say though is Irvin made it a thing. Like he made it a thing when Dez asked for it, and so now it's a thing. Like it's more of a thing now that CD has it. I mean, don't forget Dwayne Haskins asked for 7. You know, like
he did, but that wasn't retired.
I mean,
this was one of those. This organization, like, kind of sort of retired numbers, like didn't hand them out. Like nobody was wearing 44. You know, nobody's wearing 7 for a lot of years. Yeah. Like now we're getting to the point like nobody will wear 28. But are you telling me in 10, 15 years, if we get our Sauce Gardner here and he wants to wear 28, we're doing that? Like,
no, we're not doing that. I mean, we're not doing that specifically because the numbers are only just now being retired. So if this was the first number retired, what year do we think that was? The 60s, the 70s? Like,
yeah.
So it's been a long time. Like this is where this organization won't give those numbers up because they've never officially been retired. So, I mean, even the unofficial number, they still had to ask Theismann to give it to Haskins, you know, a couple years ago. So, like, I don't know.
I remember he didn't really want to do it, right? Didn't he kind of make it clear that he wasn't too into that?
He kind of just like, it was kind of like a sure, take it.
He's like, fine, I guess.
I've said this, like, I think if you're going to do this, I think there needs to be some kind of like thing put in place. Like, let's say Theismann, for example, like, even though, you know, the Haskins situation is over with, whatever, like, I thought when this happens, you need to like release a bunch of stuff like, hey, you get a shirt and it has Haskins and Theismann on it. Or if there's Haskins jerseys, there are Theismann jerseys right next to them. Like something with visibility. I think that. Like something with visibility.
To show the legacy. Yeah, show the legacy.
I think you need to help the player out that had the number retired. So like in this case, like they should have those Flaherty jerseys next to the Malik Neighbors jerseys. Because I mean, I don't know who's buying them, but just to say, hey, here's the legacy guy and sell it in that old school Giants jersey, whatever it looked like way back when, I would go that route. I think there needs to be an agreement in place. Like if I agree to do this, I also, you know, get a little help with the merch push and getting my name back out there.
This story really made me happy. Taylor Heineke getting traded to the Chargers. I think there's a similar disposition between Harbaugh and Heineke a little bit. Like I think they probably deliver it in different ways, but I think they're cut from the same cloth. I think they're both in that who's got it better than us, like nobody. I think they're both from that kind of mantra. So I was happy to see this. And it also just made me happy that he got traded. So there's another team that thinks he's valuable. Like there was something that like tugged at the heartstrings for me with that, because it's funny. I think back to the Rivera era and I go, the best moment was a playoff game where nobody was in the stadium and he dives for a pylon. And for a moment, I thought he was going to pull off one of the biggest upsets in playoff history. Like there was a definitive moment where I thought that might happen.
I think Harbaugh sees himself in Heineke. They both kind of run a little reckless. Like you look at some of those old Harbaugh highlights and he's trying to truck people when he's running with the ball. Uh-huh. Heineke, we saw him do the same thing here. I think Harbaugh sees himself in Heineke. And that's, you know, I'm just glad that, you know, now he gets to go to a good location too, not to knock Atlanta, but like now he gets to be, now he's in LA. Like he's going to be living the good life now.
Listen, man, Herbert gets hurt every year too.
Yes. Yeah, that too.
He's probably going to play.
Yep.
At some point.
Yep. Exactly.
Herbert will stand in there and take hits. And so, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays and he's got like, he may have a little of that captain comeback in him. Oh, that's going to be fun. I'm about to be a half Chargers fan now. I mean, Harbaugh, he's a weird curiosity to me. Like he's a different breed. I don't know what's going on in that guy's brain because it seems so strange, but he wins so much that he's got the solution to something. I don't know what it is, but he does. And like, if they're playing the Chiefs and he knocks off Mahomes, I will be pumping my fist during that 4:00 Hanson window. Oh, I'll be pumping my fist on that one.
By the way, you and I talk about him every year. I mean, the Chargers uniforms, best in the league. Number 4 Heineke, pretty good in the powder blue. It's a pretty good jersey. Pretty good jersey.
Yeah, I just feel like Kumbaya's happening. We got to get a bunch of Heineke Chargers jerseys. at Northwest Stadium. We're going to get a bunch of 0 Sandra Still jerseys. It's all coming together. I feel it. The Commandalorian can still hang out. Red Wolves forever. I'm feeling good about all of it.
You're UN of fans. Is that what that is?
UN of fans. Yeah. This is not a surprise if you've been following what's going on in New England. And especially the other day when Gerard Mayo was asked, because Jacoby Brissett got hurt in the final preseason game, would Drake May start? Which I don't even know why you would ask that question. Like, of course he would, if Jacoby can't go. And his answer was, yeah, because he's the second best quarterback on our team, which was an interesting way of saying, like, putting him in his place. It was like a backhanded compliment. And then, so I guess Jacoby's okay. So they are going to start the season with Drake May on the bench. And I haven't followed it enough, but having seen him the other day live and in person, I don't know, man. Like, you don't want to start the season off with him and just see how it goes? I mean, I'm not around in practice all the time, but he looked in control to me. Like, he didn't look like the rookie that I had heard about the first few weeks of training camp. So I'm sure the Patriots Twitter is not pleased today that this is the direction that they're going.
I think this is strategic in that I told you the other day how Mayo said, we might not have 2 offensive linemen on the team right now. And I think this is him going, we're not going to put the rookie out there with the way the offensive line looks right now. So I think Brissett plays the first half of the season, maybe 6 games. And then if things really do get that desperate,
what the score is,
then May will end up playing. I think they want to see what that offensive line looks like.
This happened here with him last year too. They promised him a real competition and he didn't really get it. And up there, I think he signed with them immediately because I think they said, you're the front runner no matter who we pick, and I guess if they had if for some reason Chicago soured on Caleb and it ended up going that way, it probably would have been a different story. But I think they're just kind of, I don't know, they're holding up their end of the bargain. It feels like a little bit. We told you we'd give you a real competition. It might have been neck and neck, but you were beating them out for a while. You get first shot.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like to me. They're just kind of holding up. They're being honest with him. That's what it feels like to me. And then the last one is this. Russ is going to start for Pittsburgh. I also don't think this is going to last very much. I saw a Pittsburgh fan at my favorite cigar store the other day. He was wearing a Pittsburgh hat. And I asked him, I go, who's starting for you guys? He goes, Russ. And I go, for how long? He goes, I don't know. Like that. What do you guys think about his TikToks? And he just looked at me and started laughing. He's like, yeah, it's not going to fly with us. We're kind of salt of the earth people. Like, we don't need that.
Yeah.
So Russ better keep it piped down if you want to stay in that position. And I still firmly believe it's the first time in a while I've really felt this way. This isn't Drew Brees, Taysom Hill. They really should be running 2 quarterback stuff. Like, they really should have packages in every game for Fields. If he's just standing on the sidelines, you're wasting him, really.
No, I agree 100%. I feel like this is Russ's quarterback 1 job, but there's going to be plenty of Justin Fields. It's pretty much how I took it yesterday. And I also don't think Russ really won the job. Russ kept Justin Fields at bay for now.
Yes.
Like, we're going to see Fields at some point as the starter. I don't know when, but I think if you're Tomlin too, though, this is not unlike kind of like Rivera with Wentz. You throw him out there just to see if he could figure it out again. And if he does, great. You have a starter.
We just sent Scott up to Pittsburgh to ask Russell Wilson about whether he stinks in training camp.
Right. Like, to me, this is just, all right, let's see if you still got it. All right, if you don't, we'll start this other guy. And that's exactly what happened here. Heineke ends up starting again.
I got big news. You're going to be very, very excited about it next. Brad watch the show. He's at 6:30, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Brad watch the show. He's at 6:30, the Sports Capital. So when was this? A week ago when I had this stupid idea that if DC gets RFK and RFK goes to the Commanders, which is what everybody's trying to make happen, and Wes Moore is so psyched to put up a new stadium, and Maryland Stadium stinks so much. Like, why not consider building a new stadium for them because they need it. And if they really want to really compete and try to build, they need the best infrastructure possible. They already have it with the football facility, but stadium could use a massive upgrade. And I just started thinking out loud, I'd like this stadium to look like a turtle shell. Like, I think that would just be the coolest thing ever if the exterior had this look and feel of an actual turtle shell and how unique that would look. And, you know, if you really, even you who wanted to make fun of it and didn't think it was like that realistic, at least for a second was like, you know, I could see where that would work. I could see your brain working like you wanted to kill me over it, but you knew it wasn't a terrible idea. Well, Rick Snyder heard this. Okay.
All
said,
right.
I like the idea. Told me this. Told me I like the idea of that. And so I guess he did, you know, he does all these Twitter. He's actually ubiquitous on Twitter these days.
Yes.
He does these like 2 minutes. Very smart. He does
He's
these
great.
little like, give me 2 minutes is his line. And he'll pick up a topic and he'll just talk about it for like 2 minutes. Well, apparently he talked about this. He told me, he said he gave me credit. He goes, I heard this on Bram's show. I just want to say that up front. But I actually think it's a good idea that if Maryland built a new stadium, that the stadium's exterior should look like a turtle shell. Well, one of his people listening to him said, I also think that's a good idea, and sent him renderings of what this stadium would look like.
Oh, man.
Would you like to see them?
Of course. Of course.
Would you like to see the renderings of a domed stadium that looks like a turtle for Maryland?
Let's do it.
Here's the front that they came up with initially. Okay. Okay. So there's that one, right?
All right. Okay.
And then hold on. Let me see if I could find the second one for you, which I think is the better one. Hold on. Let me get the better one now. And then there's this one.
I mean, that is, what in the AI is that? I mean, that's a little much, and you know.
So this is what I said. this is what I said to this one. I said, I love the first go at it. Okay.
Yeah.
And
right.
and I think it's cool that AI does this. In fact, somebody put out renderings of all the NFL stadiums if they were like this, like in this like mode of like looking like whatever the mascot is. What I was more thinking, so I'd love a second go if somebody would have a second go at it, is actually something more simple where the exterior kind of has just the shell look to it. Sure. It doesn't have all the color and all that stuff attached to it, but just maybe like a brown shell almost. And maybe you can have some of the red and yellow and black and all that stuff as like accoutrements at the entrances of it. But like that the dome, if a drone came over it or the blimp went over it or whatever, you'd see the dome, but it would look like a literal turtle shell that's not colored like that. That's my vision for it. But I do appreciate that someone did this.
I mean, I will say this, even if they don't get a new stadium, what would stop them from making the outside of Xfinity Center a turtle shell?
Okay.
I'm just saying, like,
and you know what? Did you hear Loxley the other day said, and maybe he has said this before, he said we need our fans to fill the shell. So did he hear this?
The shell.
I never, and some Maryland reporter probably tell me he calls it that all the time, but like, I was like, that's a coincidence. Did he hear this too? So I think we're starting something here. I want to build some momentum. I want Maryland to have a modern, brand new stadium that looks like a turtle.
I mean, it's not going to happen at the football stadium. I will stand by that. But I think you could do Xfinity. I know it's a great idea. But I think you could do it with Xfinity right now. All you need to do is change what the like paneling looks like. That can't be that hard. Get your art department out there to do that.
I mean, I guess, but I love it. Oh, I love it. I've never been really more proud of myself ever. Like really just. So thank you for Rick Snyder for promoting my idea. Thank you to whoever sent him these initial renderings. I'm looking for something a little simpler, actually. Something just a little bit simpler. Maybe there's an M on the shell when you fly over it. Maybe it's something like that. We could do something like that. but I don't want the head and the legs hanging out, and I don't want the whole thing adorned in all the Maryland colors. I think we use that as accoutrements to it.
I think
but if we had an actual shell, I don't know, man. I think we'd sell a lot of tickets to the shell.
I think when kickoff happens, that's when the head comes out of the shell. It's inside the whole time. And then when kickoff happens, it slowly comes out.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. That's good. When are we going to have a giant tortoise walking around too? Like what are we waiting for?
What do you mean? Oh, like the animal?
Well, I mean, everybody, a bevo exists. There's a buffalo that runs around. Where's a giant, like, Galapagos sea tortoise walking around?
You got Testudo. Take it or leave it, pal.
Fine.
Good mascot.
Last because I know it just makes you happy. Dylan Cruz, James Wood, 4 for 8 last night. Nationals beat the Yankees again.
Leadoff homer for Dylan Cruz. How about that?
You're a true believer. I know. You're a true believer. You think it's going to happen again.
I stopped drinking the Kool-Aid, and now I'm drinking it again.
Okay.
I mean, I'm I paused, but like I said, Dylan Cruz, just on the eye test alone the other night, being there in person, I was like, oh, this dude's got it. He'll be fine. And he hits a leadoff last night. Fantastic.
All right. That'll do it for today. See you tomorrow. Bram and Callow, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.